Good. Yeah. So, welcome and hello to my first podcast episode. For this, I wanted to talk about the topics activism, forms of activism, and the woke culture. In other words, we go deeper into that a little bit later. And how can you start a podcast better than with George Martin from Carnism Debunked? Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Oliver. It's really good to be here.
Yeah, thanks. A little bit nervous, but we do it. Yeah, just to start it off. Yeah, maybe talk a little bit about you, about yourself, how you went vegan, and how you started activism.
Yeah, sure. So it's been nearly 9 years now that I've been vegan. It'll be my vegan anniversary on the 8th of January. So I'm sure by the time people are watching this podcast, that'll have been 9 years. And it was after I saw Gary Yourofsky's speech in late 2012, best speech you'll ever hear, that I decided to go vegan in January 2013. And yeah, I've been doing various forms of activism over those years. And I'm currently an organizer for the We the Free group here in Bristol. So for anyone who's not aware, We the Free is a fairly new sort of street outreach group. Works in the same way to like AV and Earthlings Experience, that kind of stuff. So showing the public slaughterhouse footage and farm footage and speaking to them about it. And I also run, as you mentioned, the Carnism Debunked platform. So there's my website, which is about debunking all the anti-vegan arguments. And I've got a YouTube channel as well. So yeah, and you can find me also on like Instagram and Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, I will link everything I can, so the people will get connected to you. Yeah, so you mentioned the We the Free movement. So first of all, I forgot to say it. This is like the structure of this podcast is like I'm asking about 10 questions, and to try to make it short and not just talk the whole day about some topics and you don't really have a location where to get. So my question would be, you mentioned We the Free as a street outreach group, and this is one form of activism. We have also, like, for example, direct action. We have quite a lot online activism, like on TikTok, for example, which you're also doing. And I would ask you, what do you think reaches the most people or is the most sustainable form of activism in your mind?
I think it's just unarguable that digital activism is the activism that reaches the most people. In fact, I would say, Oliver, that it's probably due to the powers of social media and the internet that you and I are vegan in the first place. I know that's true of me for sure. Unfortunately, and I'm ashamed to say it, I probably wouldn't be vegan if it weren't for the internet. So it's good, you know, that we live in this time rather than we lived however many decades ago, because I think it's just the most powerful and easy way to spread a message to a very large audience of people. And as I say, I was captivated by Gary Yourofsky's speech, and you know, it's just the power of a single Facebook share can change that. It was actually the artist JME, who I listened to, the grime artist JME, who just shared on his Facebook back then, watch the whole thing. And I just, clicked on this random YouTube video, and boom, there's me, of the least vegan person in the world of 23 years, and that speech turned me into a vegan. So undoubtedly, I think from both our experiences, we could probably say that digital activism reaches the most people. And you mentioned TikTok a moment ago as well. I think that's what's captivating a lot of people now. When attention spans are shorter than ever, right? People want short form video. That's why I really recommend that all vegans, if you're online, get on TikTok or get on Instagram Reels. It's so simple. You don't have to be, you know, you can be camera shy, that's fine. You don't have to show your face or do anything like that. You can literally like screen record on your phone like a 10-second clip from, you know, Dominion or Gary's speech or James Aspey's speech or something like that, and just upload it, and it could be seen by tens of thousands of people. And you've done that from the comfort of your own living room in 10 seconds. That's activism. And you're going to reach potentially hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah. I'm also like, this is why I started the podcast in the first place, because I thought, yeah, okay, I'm doing a lot in like Anonymous for the Voiceless, but I think I can, make it go a step further and take it on the next level. But you mentioned it. For me, it was probably also like this. Yeah, of course, I was like interested in fitness and all this stuff, and finally I came to Vegan Gains. You know him, of course.
Of course.
And his like confrontational style, like saying, "You're an idiot if you're vegetarian." And I was a vegetarian at that time. I realized, yeah, okay, he's right in insulting me. And I didn't want to be insulted, and someone is right in it. So I just said, okay, then I'm going vegan. And also like this, well, we go deeper in a few minutes later. It was like the way I was manipulated. It was the first time actually when I thought, oh, yes, cows give milk for their babies. In my whole life, like 22 years, I never thought of it. It's just so obvious, and I was just manipulated so easily that I just said, yeah, okay, you fooled me my whole life, so I'm not supporting you anymore. And but if we before we go deeper into this, I wanted to say, okay, we have this online activism, but does it make like going to cubes, taking this time where you could, for example, make TikTok or something else, go onto the outreach events like We the Free or Anonymous for the Voiceless? Does it make it obsolete, or do you think we still need that too?
Yeah, that's a very good question about effective use of time and stuff. No, it doesn't make it obsolete. Speaking to people one-on-one, face-to-face is important as well. There are still people who may not come across something on social media, or they might see a vegan video and they just scroll past it. You have to remember, a lot of those people you're speaking to on the street, you know, they might actually avoid doing, you know, avoid watching those videos and stuff online. But then suddenly when they're actually there and they're talking to someone and they're having a good conversation with someone, it kind of opens things up to them a little bit. And it also makes veganism more personable as well. Because one of the things, I think one of the key reasons why veganism is not huge, I mean, it's getting bigger, but why we're such a tiny percentage of the population, is that most people just love to feel normal. They just do whatever society tells them, and they don't want to be the outsider. They don't want to be the weirdo, right? Which is why so many vegans are so fucking weird. Can I just say, no shade there, but it's true, right? Because we're often the ones, right, Oliver, who weren't afraid to stand apart from the crowd. And so what I think street outreach is good at doing is just making veganism seem more personable. You're just talking there and you're having a discussion with someone one-on-one, and they see all these vegans, you know, a cube or whatever it is, you know, they might see 20 people there, and they start to think, hang on, you know, I wouldn't be alone if I went vegan. And, you know, there would be there's people there in this fight with me. And it also, it's a way, you have to capitalize on opportunities, right? Okay, someone sees a video of some chicks being shredded alive on Instagram Reels, right? They'll think, oh, that's horrible, but then they might just swipe past. If you talk to them in real life, you have that, you know, as the AV underlying messages to hold people accountable. You can actually say, yeah, okay, it is horrible. What do you plan to do about it? Which is an opportunity you might miss on social media.
I would also think like this, because yeah, I might think right now that it is still more sustainable in a way, because if you talk to people, you can really not always, but you can really reach them. Do you think like it's a bit
more effective?
No, that's not what I wanted to say. Superficial. Do you think online activism might be a little bit superficial at some point to really get the vegan message across? Because you see a lot of people always also in vegan groups, in local vegan groups, they are like, I just saw it today. There was like, yeah, I'm a vegetarian and 5% vegan or something, and everybody was applauding them. And I just saw, okay, there are so many vegans, but they don't really get what veganism is about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Well, first up, local vegan groups are cancer. Just like I would say, if you don't want to like end up banging your head into the wall, avoid these local vegan groups, because any vegan group that you come across on Facebook where it says vegans in or vegans of, you know, location name, it's filled to the brim with apologists, and the actual like animal rights vegans in there will comprise probably 2% of it. So I know what you mean. There's always people, social media, there's always going to be people, including vegans, who are going to give people a nice old pat on the back and say, there, don't worry that you bought that pizza today. We're all trying or something. Whereas, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's good to have like that more sort of radically minded group of people who are on the streets who won't take no for an answer kind of thing. That's not to say that we should be dicks to people on the street. We have to understand that everyone was the same as, we were the same as every single person. But for sure, I think, yeah, having that face-to-face stuff, it does remove that kind of, that mass pat on the back thing that you get in Facebook groups and stuff. I think it's mainly an issue with Facebook, though. I don't think it's so much an issue with stuff like TikTok and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's something new for me, just because I'm not that deep into TikTok and for example, Instagram Reels. I'm just starting out, and this was what was holding me back quite a time, because I thought, yeah, okay, you're spamming these people with information, but you don't really get to know each other or to get the message across. But when I first saw from another activist, Mark, he just shared screenshots with, hey, you because of you, I'm vegan now. And I just realized, okay, how many times do you get a person to you that you met on the street who said they became vegan because of you? This happens maybe in my 3 years, it maybe happened 5 times or maybe 10. But this is like the screenshots, like about 20 people in a few months. So maybe this is a new way or just an additional way. And I think you shouldn't forget that it's also important to have like other like-minded people around you. And this is mostly the case if you go out on the streets and meet in real life the other activists. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's it would be good if we could get more data though on, who we've changed sort of face to face and who we've changed, via online and stuff like that. As you mentioned, We the Free is doing something kind of like that at the moment with the tracking system and stuff. But it would be good to know, wouldn't it, how many people over those years have changed because of you, kind of thing.
Yeah, you mentioned it. This was a major thing where I think We the Free is a good new group, because I think it's very, very motivating. It's like a little bit like a V-head with the positive conversations. But after all, someone counted like 30 people on a day, and someone else like 1 person. and they count differently. But AV is also starting something like this, where you got a QR code and you scan it, and then you can tell in which city, and then it collects data on how long you were on the site. So I think this is a step in the right direction to more, to try to track our impact. Yeah. But one thing came into my mind when doing street activism, that it's like you only, not one group, but you're only meeting a couple of groups, like the person who goes onto the street, who goes shopping at the weekend. And I thought, if we are just in these usual areas in the city, do we always reach the same like groups of people, and do we miss some groups, and maybe also miss some groups on the internet, which can be very influential, for example?
Yeah, well, here's the thing: street outreach, no form of activism is going to be perfect, and ultimately with street outreach you're going to reach fewer people overall than you might do online, though that depends on the size of your platform. If you have a really small online platform, you might convert more people on the street, kind of thing. So yeah, there are those problems. It's like, if you're constantly doing this event just outside this shopping center, and it might be the same people passing every week and they've seen it all, maybe it would be effective to do it in another part of town and stuff, but I guess you can plan that accordingly. But ultimately you're not going to get every single person. It's never going to be perfect. So that's why I say we do different forms of activism. It's good to do the street outreach, and it's good to do your online stuff as well.
Okay. Yeah, I also think like this, and I also think this is why direct action is important. For example, Rob Banks, who just shames the Hollywood stars and the people, the prominent people who go into New York. And I think this is also very important. And there we come to our next topic. And this is like, he is pushing like the cancel culture, and it works in step of veganism. But the question is cancel culture altogether something negative or positive? And before we get into that, start the new segment. And it is, I started a little queue on Instagram, and the question is about wokeness. And on Instagram, there were like, most of people said no, and those people who said yes probably misunderstood what wokeness means, because I know these people and they would never say yes to it. But first maybe we define it, and then we go deeper into it. So how would you define wokeness or woke culture?
Yeah, so that's very important to do first, isn't it? To define what it is to be woke and what woke culture is. So I think part of where the confusion comes from is that the woke brigade, it's actually their term. The thing is, us as the anti-woke brigade, is that we're turning it on them to mean like something that's like negative, but they see it as something that's good. It's, woke just means, being aware of the truth and being aware of oppression and being against injustice. Sounds great, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to be woke if they hear that, right? And who wouldn't select that poll option saying, yes, wokeness is good? But what we're seeing now when we're talking about woke culture and woke as a negative thing, we're talking about this whole religion of self-hatred, particularly for sort of white males, for example, where it's mass identity politics at play. So everyone is put into categories, assigned via their race, their gender, sexuality, whatever it is, and they're essentially given privilege points. It's this oppression Olympics that the woke brigades say that they're against, but actually they're actually enacting it. So for example, it'd be the whole thing about, you can't say this if you're a white male, and the idea that everyone who isn't a white male is oppressed, and you can't be racist to white people and all this kind of stuff. And we're seeing this impact not only wider society, but also the animal rights movement as well. So we're talking about that very far left, self-hating or outwardly hating, if you're not a white male, vitriol that and the cancel culture and that kind of stuff that comes along with it. So it's like, how dare you not share my opinion on this? You know, let's make this person lose their job, or, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, to break it down, it's like, you said it. It's like being conscious about a lot of what is going on in our world right now, and like the main topic is racism, sexism, and also I would count like climate topics, because this is most of the time it's like the people are doing the same activism in these fields. And like you said, it's not inherently a bad thing. It's good when people think about what they are doing and what they want to change in society. But like you said, the problem is that it turns into the wrong direction, to that they start to discriminate against other people. And the question is, it is like there, and it is very, very powerful, because you see it in media, you see it like in big world conflicts. Like you see, for example, Russia, you have like Putin, and he has some views about gay marriage and all this stuff. And woke culture like makes this gay marriage thing so high on the tier list, so important, that if he just doesn't meet this one thing, I'm I'm not going too deep into that, and don't criticize on other things and all this stuff, but this one thing becomes so important that if you only have to criticize that on a whole group or a single person, that it's like, checkmate. you're the bad guy. And we see how powerful it is, and the question is, how did it become so powerful, and why is it so widespread right now?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question to ask, because a lot of people are wondering that. But there's a very simple answer. It's spread through the tactics of fear. It operates in the same way that cults operate. The idea that if you leave this certain group, you will be chastised and ostracized. And that's how these cults are operating, and they're infecting the vegan movement, because the woke culture is essentially a cult. They share all the similar traits of cults. The censorship of anything free speech, and any kind of opinions that go against it. So it's not about discussions or exchange of ideas. It's about just boom, this is, talking about things that are clearly feelings based as if they're facts. And anything that you dare say against the narrative, you are now ostracized, and you're a bigot, and you're an outsider, and we will even try and fuck up your life in some way. Literally how cults operate, which is why I love the humorous term for the woke cult as woko haram. So this is how it's spreading, because people dare not say anything that goes against their narrative. Why do you think so many animal rights pages and so many big businesses, big corporations and stuff in 2020 were posting their obligatory black squares and stuff for the BLM stuff? Oftentimes it's not necessarily because they agree with everything. It's because they're fucking terrified of not posting it. They don't want to be the first one who says, no, we're not going to post something about this actually. Or no, it's fine for people to have different opinions about Black Lives Matter or something like that. Everyone was just conforming to the narrative kind of thing, because they don't want to be cancelled. And that's how it works.
Yeah. And then it's there. And the question is, how do we then try to make the people conscious? Because I think this is a big other reason people who claim to be so conscious are in the end just manipulated by media, and they follow the main narrative which is in place. You see it perfectly in the current situation with the coronavirus. I think it also comes from this victim mentality that you just feel you might have some issues, you might have some problems, but instead of being conscious and to work on your wait a second, to work on your own issues, there's another one who's the evil one. And if you push all your issues onto this person and say, okay, if we together fight this person or this group or whatever, if we get rid of racism and all this like total liberation ideas, then I can live my life, and then I'm not a victim anymore. And this is like giving the problems away from yourself instead of working on yourself, which is, I think, another thing that you can read in all those personality development books. Like, just go into yourself and try to figure out your own life. And I think this also stems from this.
Yeah, and people are fanning the flames, or fueling the flames, whatever the right term for this would be, because when you submit to woke culture, when you say, oh, okay, I'll do this post just to say I agree with your cause and stuff, this is why it's so hard for me to do, because I know that this will inevitably result in the degradation of society. We all have a personal responsibility here. We don't want society to get like this, like the woke brigade are trying to make it. We need to be brave and actually speak up and speak out against it, which most people unfortunately just aren't willing to do. Most people, especially in the animal rights movement, will just rather conform to the bullying and to the hate, so that they're not the next person who gets their head severed and paraded around like a trophy, which is what their goal is. This is how sad these people are, is that they tend to be very unsuccessful people in life. They tend to be losers in life. And so instead of getting their dopamine hit from winning, trophies in sports, or getting that promotion at work, or hitting some kind of achievement or whatever it is, their achievement comes from wrecking someone's life and then saying, ha, see me, I did that. I screenshotted that post they made from 2008 when they were 14 years old that said something that wasn't politically correct, which we're seeing. I don't know if it's the case in Germany, but in the UK, we're seeing this happen to like footballers and stuff. People are literally scrolling down their Twitters and stuff, and they're finding stuff they posted like when they were literally kids. And they're getting fined and stuff by the Football Association for these tweets and stuff that they made literally when they were a child.
I mean,
doing that,
even the question is why just because he's famous, just because someone seems to be important. In our case, it was like one footballer, just one guy said openly, yeah, I'm unsure about the vaccination. I think I will not take it. And then it was like 2 months, the top the top topic in the whole nation. Everybody knows this football player, and everybody knows that he doesn't want to get vaccinated. And it's always like just pressuring the narrative. But I think this is the important thing I ask in my Instagram question. And it is, can veganism also profit from it? Because if it's in place, if it's so powerful, like we said yet, like we described before, maybe it can also help to promote the message, or not to promote, but to spread the message worldwide. For example, the same way people are shaming others be conscious about the climate change and all this stuff, to shame them and make give veganism the same importance, like for example climate, that everybody talks about it and it's so important, and everybody has to adapt it.
Yeah, so I guess you're saying basically, could woke culture, could we use this whole woke tactic in our favor if we talk about cancelling people because they have certain views about animals? Here's the thing. The people that use that tactic, they're often, well, they're pretty much always speciesists, including if they're vegans. So ultimately, these peoples are all the people doing this kind of stuff are always going to put the interests of animals first over humans. So if we start sort of banding up with them within the vegan movement, the woke cultists in the vegan movement, and saying, well, let's use this whole cancel culture thing for good to cancel non-vegans, unfortunately, they're not going to even agree with that, because ultimately what they're going to do, I'll give you an example. Let's say a famous person wears fur, and vegans say, we're going to destroy this person's life because they wore fur or whatever it is. Ultimately, the wokals within the animal rights movement are going to put that person's identity above anything anywhere. They'll just say, we can't do that. They're a BIPOC, they're an indigenous person or something like that. So the thing is, I would rather just do things the normal way, which is to persuade via open discussion and argumentation, because banding up, getting pally with these people who essentially use that kind of the whole woke cancel culture tactic, they're not going to agree with us on any of these things anyway, because as long as this celebrity or whoever it is isn't a white male, their culture and their traditions, whatever it is, will always just come first. They will always pick humans over animals. Yep. A lot of the intersectionals and stuff.
It was just like it's not like I'm planning to try it out like this, but I thought maybe there could be some benefits from it, which will ultimately help to spread veganism. But I also think it's not really possible, and I think you said it like in a video or in a post in the past. We have different aims. We want animal liberation and end speciesism, and they want to change the whole system and want total liberation. They want to reach all these goals at once, and people always say, we have the same goal and let's work together. But ultimately, I think maybe this isn't even the case, and maybe we have to separate and go our own ways to do the activism which reaches our goal, and this is end speciesism.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, 98% of the intersectionals in the vegan movement, they're not animal rights activists, they're political activists. They're politicians, essentially. And they care more about enforcing far left ideals on the world and on the animal rights movement than they actually care about ending the animal holocaust. So, unless we could... But I'm happy to march with these people. I'm happy to meet in the middle and say, can we all just rally up and march for the one thing we do agree on? But it's actually them who aren't. They're not willing to work with us when it comes to this stuff, because they just say, as long as you have this political opinion, you're not welcome to in the animal rights movement. And this is a huge problem.
I just, you know it, I experienced it myself at AV, where there was some, like you said, people who didn't get their, who weren't successful in their lives and just wanted to show they can cancel people. And there I was the victim, and in my case it was sexism. Just 1 month ago, I think I also wrote you a message. It was Peter in Germany. there's like a separate campaign which is called Peter 2, so Peter 2, and apparently they do not want people. So they said they were open for people who are not vaccinated or vaccinated, but as I am not, and I had some private at WhatsApp private stories, which is about comparing some situations, how the politics, how the media manipulates, like it was in the past time before in Germany. And this was reason enough to just cancel people, to just throw them out, and without realizing that maybe these people are the most active ones in the group. So you just experienced it today, like 2 years ago, and I have a feeling it's the best thing is just to separate and go on with what you have and keep on doing, because you know the real reason why you're doing it. And I also saw in the movement that those people who really understand what it's about, to end speciesism, to end the animal holocaust, are not afraid to call it animal holocaust. They always come back to the actions, and they always want to change something because they understood what it's about. And the other people, it doesn't matter if they are not active right now. It doesn't matter. Maybe a year they have a break. And I always see more dedication in those people who are like more open-minded.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it, that people are willing to disassociate from very good activists and expel very good and effective activists from their groups and from their cause over trivial differences in beliefs. And obviously they would respond to that by saying, you know, these aren't trivial, these are like major differences and stuff, but they're not in any way significant differences that would affect the actual activism. Okay, you might think that a difference in political opinion is serious on a voting level if you want to change the election and stuff like that, and you want the way things run in your country, taxes and immigration and abortion and stuff like that. What the fuck's that got to do with the animals, though? How is someone who has a different opinion from you on abortion or something like that, how on earth is that going to in any way, you know, why should that person not be allowed to go to a save movement thing and give water to the pigs as they're about to be sent into their deaths?
Other people feel uncomfortable. And this is it was the craziest thing I experienced. I stood before a slaughterhouse, and I went there with two friends, and the organizer came to me from Safe Movement and said to me, yeah, you can't be here because activists feel uncomfortable. And I was like, okay, maybe they feel uncomfortable because there are murders just right around the corner. But no, it was because of me, because I share different political views. And this is how crazy it is. This is like the reality we are facing here. And which I realized, for example, at a demonstration against the COVID measures. I realized that like people would rather be friends with animal murderers and to talk to them, to spend time with them, to okay, maybe they eat differently than I, but we feel comfortable together, instead of a vegan who isn't a murderer at all, but maybe like says I don't like immigrants. Not an act, but like just the talking thing. And this is like, if you realize, this is like the craziest thing. Or can you explain it?
You know what? The thing you said about the Save movement thing was insane. That is just, and you epitomize, that is a brilliant observation you've made. They're talking about they're uncomfortable being around certain people. But instead of the person who's just about to herd thousands of pigs into a gas chamber and then slit their throats, which you'd think, oh, I'm a bit uncomfortable by that level of speciesism and violence. No, it's Oliver coming along and he has X view about something trivial as shit. So it really puts that into perspective. And the strange thing is, you know, this whole, I feel unsafe at the demo because so-and-so is there and they have certain political view, blah, blah, blah. These people are around them every day. They walk past them in the street. They're the librarian when you go into the library. It's your mum and dad. It's your next door neighbor.
Yeah.
It's the person in your church or wherever it is. It's like these people are walking past you in the street every day. Surely, if you actually had this belief that I can't be around people who voted Trump in the election or whatever it is, why do you leave your fucking house? Like in America, you know, where, you know, when the election that Trump won, you know, so half of the country's voted for him. You're walking past these people every day in the street, and they'll even go on holiday. These people who say they can't go to an AV event or whatever it is because so-and-so is there and they have this view on this. You'll see them going on holiday to countries where they have like en masse quite discriminatory views, like against a certain group. Like maybe they'll go to like a homophobic country or something. And it's like, you've just said you won't go to the AV event because so-and-so is there and they have this opinion about that. But you just got back from a holiday in like Egypt or something where like homosexuality is seen as like a huge sin. It's like you were happy to be surrounded by those people, but you're not happy to be surrounded by animal rights activists who have some kind of view. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's I think nobody can explain it really, because it's like the wokeness, the woke culture is just too present these days. And I think a perfect example, which I always cited from you, was like, just for example, Obama and like, for example, Merkel were the good guys in the whole story, and both voted against gay marriage at that time. And then you have like Trump. You had the short thing where he just said, yeah, I'm proud that Republicans applaud for LGBTQ people.
Yeah.
But he's the bad guy, and the Democrats are always the good guys. It's also in German media, very, very, very present. It's always like you don't have another view. And like in the East, there are, everybody there is bad, but except they're Muslim, then you have to, you can't discriminate against Islam. And
100%. Homophobia is always wrong unless a Muslim holds a homophobic view or something. Yeah, there's a huge contradiction there, and they won't. You know, they will only hold you accountable for these views if you fit into a certain category, right? And it's also like you said about the elections. Yeah, it's like, you know, I'll say something fairly controversial here, which is that that shouldn't be controversial, which is that Joe Biden has probably said more provably racist quotes than Trump ever has. Biden has quite a long history of saying controversial, like anti-black quotes, and just other sort of quotes that Trump would never get away with saying. How is he allegedly the most voted for president in US history? And it's just because people have essentially bullied others into voting him in, when he has often the same views or worse than Trump. And it's just because he has the blue badge and Trump has the red badge. And it just shows you, Oliver, this is about power. They don't really care. That a lot of these people, they hardly believe in what they're saying. They just want to have that power trip over people. And they will use any kind of manipulation and bullying and propaganda they can use in order to get you to vote for the parties they want you to vote for. In the animal rights movement or wherever it will be. Even in the UK, I also did that video called Intersectionals, How Consistent Are You, or something like that. Because they talked about, intersectionals in the UK, they say the same shit. oh, you know, we can't have this person in the group because they like Trump or because they voted Tory in the last election. They all voted en masse for Labour, who have had these anti-Semitism problems over the years.
Yeah,
there's been all this.
It was in this video, in the big debunking this intersectional podcast video. Yeah. I think it's like similar in all these countries, and I think a main role plays also like Facebook, Instagram, and so on and so on. Like the whole power is in these like internet sites. They have they have they have all the money in the world, and if they want something if they want people to believe something, they just have to make the right algorithm for it. And I think people are just too disconnected, not only from the animals but also from the whole world, which is what is happening there. Because, for example, I saw a video where Republicans and Democrats were asked, would you date a Republican or Democrat, or would you be friends with someone? And the Democrats, everybody says no, never would meet a Republican or talk to them. And the Republicans are, okay, they are normal people. what should I say? And it was like, when you realize that if this doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter. It's like a thing. Why do we even talk about so much about politics? Why do we even care when we were going, like you said, into the supermarket or something? Right now in Germany there are Spaziergänge. So I think in English just walks. So it's like demonstrations against the COVID laws, and there is this this line which is saying keine Spaziergänge mit Nazis. So no walks or no demonstrations together with Nazis. And the question is, like what I was thinking of, but do you control every time you go into the supermarket that there are no Nazis? So like the line, no shopping with Nazis. And this is like, why do we even need to know everything about the other person and every view they have and everything, just to do a thing which is completely disconnected from it?
Yeah, and the craziest thing is here, Oliver, I mean, if they actually meant real legitimate Nazis, as in people who want to gas people, then obviously I'd understand their point. But what they're talking about when they say Nazi is anyone who isn't far left. They're talking about just centrists, or even just like slightly left-leaning people, or even moderate left people. They're calling those people Nazis, and that's what they're meaning when they say this kind of stuff. This is like, they're literally calling, like, the idea that Trump's presidency, got compared to like, and he was called a Nazi and stuff like that, and all the people that voted for him are Nazis. These are just normal people who voted for him. They're just like the people, like you said, the people in the supermarket all around you and stuff. And it's just like, how have they and this is what they do. This goes back to the earlier question about how this kind of stuff spreads. If you label stuff, especially if you give it very severe terms like Nazism, oh, you voted for Trump, you're a Nazi, that allows it to spread quicker as well, because people don't want to be labeled as that. Who on earth wants to be labeled as a Nazi, right? So of course, that way, people in the animal rights movement or whatever it is, they're just going to, once again, conform to the will of these people, and they're going to vote the way they do, or not speak out on certain issues, or post their obligatory, black squares or whatever it is, just because they don't want to be labeled the white supremacist or the Nazi, all of these extreme terms, which makes them even bigger hypocrites, because these same people say, you shouldn't use the term Holocaust to describe what happens to the animals, and you can't call it rape and all this stuff. It's like they're happy to use very severe terms when it comes to someone with a different opinion from them, but they're not happy to use these terms when animals are being gassed by the hundreds of billion.
Yeah, it's like always the same, acting differently than they they act like they are criticizing the same people. So yeah, it's very complicated. And yeah, we talked a lot about the problems and all this stuff, and maybe we talk a little bit about the solution. So how do you think we can call out these people, or is it possible even to call out these people if such big companies like Facebook are promoting this woke culture, if whole politics and media in whole countries, and yeah, if you like only want to get your message across, but yeah, the question is how.
Yeah, so there's one thing I can't do, which is that you mentioned a moment ago, you know, the sort of the politicians and stuff like that. And it's like I don't have the power currently to make sure that, you know, Facebook doesn't censor things or anything like that, because I'm not, you know, I'm not a billionaire like Mark Zuckerberg, who has this platform that can control the spread of information and stuff like that. We have to start taking personal responsibility, though, when we see this cancerous stuff spread, and it's down to each individual who's against it to actually speak up. They have to just, if they're seeing this kind of stuff, they have to actually be one of the people who say that I'm going to be the person here who goes against this, because it's like that normalization thing that I talked about earlier, right? We need to normalize people standing out and speaking up against things like mass censorship, speaking up against woke culture. You know, if you see someone on Facebook say something like, you're a fucking cis white male, blah, blah, you're cis white male scum, don't just scroll by. You wouldn't do that if it was a black person. If you saw a black person be racially abused on social media, you would call that person who did that, who wrote that comment, an idiot, whatever it was, and say, how dare you say that? We need to be but with woke culture, people are scared to do that if it's a cis white male or something like that. And we need to actually normalize calling out these people and calling things what they are, which is a cult. You need to, these people use labeling, we need to use the labels back. We need to label what this is as a cult. And if you have a friend who's falling into one of these cults, you need to actually speak to them. You need to actually say, your opinions here seem to be influenced more by fear and stuff. There's even, like, you know, financial manipulation of people that we're seeing as well. I've even seen, which is how cults operate. You know, I've even seen in vegan groups, I've seen reports of stuff like there was this one incident in like a vegan girls group a few years back. There was this black girl in there who was like specifically asking the white cult members in the group if they could send her money and stuff to pay for her cinema tickets and stuff, because they're white and they like owe her and stuff. And they were all just conforming, like, yes, I'll send you some money and stuff. If you have a friend who's doing that, they're fucking brainwashed. They're like, they need help. You need to drag them out of the fucking cult. You can't just let them. You know, this is now more than a trivial difference of opinion. You have a friend who is being brainwashed and they're being manipulated by the cult. So I think these are the key things to do. A, speak up, and B, recognize that if your friend is having these beliefs, they are being manipulated by a cult, and you need to save them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe to come to a last question. You see a lot of people online who are calling out this woke culture. I mean, I'm not, there are not coming any names into my head right now, but you know them. They have quite big channels. Most of them just show this hypocrisy. But the problem is, most of them aren't vegan, because they see veganism as like a branch of this whole thing. And this is, I think, maybe those people, if we can reach them, if we can transform them into vegans, and they like spread the truth, the real truth also about veganism, it would be very good support for us. But do you think it's possible to persuade them, to reach them? Or do you think, yeah, okay, they are so much into the other side, in like the deep Republican, for example, side, where if they say I'm vegan now, they are just getting bombarded like you're just a pussy man or something like this.
So I actually think if one of those big, like, you know, conservative or anti-woke pages, let's say Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens or someone like that, yeah, they would get people like that. If they were to go vegan, they would get a lot of comments like that. But at the same time, there would be as well people who are on their side, who would actually think, oh, well, if so and so is going vegan, you know, oh, Candace Owens has gone vegan, or Ben Shapiro's gone vegan, maybe veganism isn't this whole SJW woke thing after all. So it could kind of work. It might not be all backlash they get. But here's the same, it would work the same way on the left as well. When these leftist celebrities go vegan and stuff, you know, they'll get accused by their little woke followers of exercising their white privilege or whatever it is. So, you know, ultimately there's going to be idiots either side.
Yeah, right.
But how attainable it is for us to do that, I don't know. It would be very hard. The thing is, with people with huge platforms, they tend to be not very easy to reach, obviously. I think what we need is to get more people in the movement of, you know, who have a diverse array of political views, just so it normalizes it. And it might be a slow and long process, hampered indeed by the intersectionals, who literally don't want people like that in the movement. They want the movement to be as small as possible, which is why it's a cancer from within the movement.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing, because if we have a lot of, like, for example, just calling this whole group just, for example, conservative, if we have more of them who are not like who are not afraid to tell their own opinion inside vegan groups, for example, more people who just say, yeah, I'm vegan and I'm also not vaccinated, who cares? And more people like this are there and can openly talk about their views. Maybe this is the step in the right direction to reach this whole these big platforms. And I'm thinking about it because there are quite some German YouTubers which are calling this out. And they also, they have like this I'm making fun of veganism thing. But do you think, like, trying to debate them or giving them more information, what would you do if they gave you the opportunity? Okay, what do you want?
Oh, I think we should absolutely use any opportunity we can get to talk to these people and have like an open and friendly discussion about this kind of thing, and show them that, you know, hey, you know, you don't need to have X political view to be vegan, by the way. You know, you can even go on, like, you know, let's hypothetically say the opportunity came up that one of these big, like, conservative platforms or something on YouTube were to invite like a big name animal rights activist on the show. You know, that activist should absolutely use that opportunity to get on there and just talk about animal rights and say, hey, look, mate, I don't care about what your opinion is on this, on that. I want you to be vegan. You're welcome in the movement. We need to make it clear that you are welcome in the movement if you're not a far leftist or whatever, because currently intersectionals are doing a good job of making it seem as if veganism is just for people on the far left, and that's putting people off going vegan.
And just to think about it, you had this this map in your video, like half was red, half was blue. And I was just thinking, just a logical question, do you really want only the blue section to be vegan and not the red one? This doesn't make sense at all. And I think Sonia Say, she made a video about it, about why conservatives should be vegan and why liberal leftists should be vegan. And the core values, and I think this is what you can close this whole thing up with. The whole thing is everybody wants to live their life happily. They want to be treated kindly from others. So it should be that they treat others also kindly. And all these people maybe have different views, but they are all humans who want to live a good life. Of course, there are some exceptions, but if we just focus more onto the people itself and see, okay, I'm not knowing anything about it. For example, at my work, I have two colleagues who I really like, who I can really talk to, also about veganism and stuff. And they vote for parties where others would directly say, okay, they are Nazis. But after all, I got to know those people without knowing their political background. And I think this is what we need to focus more on, to to just see the person behind it, to see their real intentions, and to see, okay, he wants to do good. Doesn't matter if he's doing it this way or this way, if he thinks capitalism or socialism or whatever is the best thing, society works. After all, this person just wants to live a good life. And if we focus on that, I think, everybody also wants animals to be treated good, or well.
Well, yeah, good is fine. Yeah. We know what you meant.
Yeah. And I would say I would close this off like this. Do you want to say something to this?
Yeah, no, thanks, Oliver, for having me on. And I'll just add to that point. And it's just that, studies show that people vote the way they do or have the opinions that they do about certain things because they believe that it's the right thing to do. It's not malicious intent. If there's someone in America or whatever who's saying, I respect the Second Amendment or whatever it is, whichever amendment it is that gives them the right to carry a gun, it's not because they want to go around massacring people or do bad with it. It's because they genuinely believe that's the right thing to, that it's their, that, maybe women when they're walking home at night or something deserve to be protected and stuff. And this is the thing that people have got to understand. If people have a different political view from you about something, it's not usually for malicious reasons. It might just be because they just think that that's the right thing to do. And I've got a good highlight reel on my Instagram about this, folks. So if you go to my Instagram, Carnism_debunked, check out the highlight reel, the hashtag consistent anti-oppression. I think I just called it, because I can't fit all the title in there, it's just called consistent ? And it's got a little hashtag thing. And that's on this whole very notion of consistent anti-oppression. So check that out.
Yeah, and to close this off, I would ask you to say something in German. Do you can say something in German?
The only things that I know in German would be Guten Tag. Well, Dankeschön, Oliver. I always say that. Those are about the only things I know in German. If you want me to say something in German, I can. If you want to teach me, say, go vegan for the animals in German, I'll say that.
What's a good phrase I'm talking? I'm always saying in outreach. Du sollst vegan werden. This is like you should be vegan.
Du sollst vegan werden.
Ja,
Is that right?
Klingt gut, genau.
Klingt gut, genau.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining me. I will try to put all the links to your pages and YouTube and this stuff I can. And I think this was a good discussion. I hope like you opened my eyes like 2 years ago with your video. Maybe we can like spread awareness about the situation in the animal rights movement, and maybe get at least some people to think more about it. And that's it. It was longer than expected, but after all, I think you can't really yeah, avoid it like this. But yeah, thank you very much, George.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Oliver. Pleasure to be on.